So in this morning's pre-service circle up, and then later as David and I prayed this morning, I invited us to feel this community, feel the space, feel the energy, feel spirit as it flows through in and as each of us. Because that's all there is spirit flowing through in and as me and you and them and that and that. It's all spirit. It's all God. It's all one thing. I turn my eyes and the listening parts of my heart to that openness and invite more of it in. Feeling the synergy, feeling the gift of connection, physical touch, being in the same room with, breathing the same air as, and knowing that this does not separate us from those people that aren't in this room with us, but that are breathing the same air, that are in this planet breathing the same air, that are in this spirit, as this spirit, with us, breathing the same air. We are all of that one, each of us. And on this last day of the last Sunday of the end of the first quarter of this new century, I love to think about how far we've come and where we're going and who we are and how we are. And I celebrate how we are together in this moment of love, of connection. I celebrate. I bring up and put in neon lights in my heart and on the screen, joy. Love, light, life, peace, power, beauty, joy. This is how one of our teachers teaches us to experience all of what spirit is. And the last one is, it's not the last one. It's the most important to me, the joy. I look at the life through the lens of joy and I get more joy. I look at life through the lens of love and I get more love. So I choose that every day, all the time. I invite you aboard this lovely love boat as we sail into the future together, holding hands, holding hearts, conscious of the synergy that we are together, conscious of the good we are doing, will do, have done, in deep gratitude for what is here now. And I'm going to let these words flow back into the law from whence they came, again with gratitude. Spirit's got this. We need do nothing but say yes. Can I get a yes? And so it is.
So I read recently that there's 4 stages to life. In the first stage, we believe in Santa Claus. Believe in Santa Claus. In the second stage, we don't believe in Santa Claus anymore. In the third stage, we realize we are Santa Claus. And in the fourth stage, we just look like Santa Claus. And it occurred to me, as Windows is trying to update itself on my computer in the middle of my talk, that in the spiritual journey, there's also a similar 4 stages. In the first stage, we believe in the magical God, right? whether that's Jesus or baby Krishna or baby Buddha. In Buddhism, there's a segment that has these wonderful legends that Buddha was born out of the side of his mother. There was no pain, and he came out knowing how to walk, and flowers grew in the footsteps of every step he took. All this magical stuff. And every religion has this. Every spiritual teaching sort of has this, kind of legendary, oh my gosh, stuff, magical stuff. So there's this magical view of God. And then we go through a stage of where we don't believe in God anymore. Some of us, if you're sitting in this kind of community, you probably have gone through that stage, yes? At least not the magical God that you were presented with originally, And then we go through the stage of where we realize we are God. And everybody's God. And the fourth stage is everybody looks like God. Because we are. And that's what God looks like. Look at your neighbor. Say, hey, you look like God. So Christmas can bring up stuff. Have you noticed? No? Okay. Right. Thank you. With the emphatic nature that no, I know it did. So, me too. But it can bring up our journey and our stages of believing, not believing, all that stuff, and our attitudes towards Santa, my good buddy here, often reflect our attitude towards God. See, we begin with a magical view, Santa or baby Jesus, right? Baby Krishna, baby Buddha, whichever. And they're surrounded by all sorts of magical stories and lessons. There's a saint who walked through the snow and made it warm and all this stuff. We're surrounded by all sorts of magical stories and lessons, and with good things happening, if you're good, and Santa God approves of us, or bad things happening if we're bad. We've got a Santa who lives far away in the North Pole, and a God who lives far away in the sky or in the mountains, depending on your particular belief system. No one ever sees him, and it's usually a him in our culture, though there are stories and rumors, and there are elves and angels and Mrs. Claus and the Virgin Mary, and we have all this stuff, right? And we have innocence, wonder, and awe of this stage. We love it, right? The most recent Rap with the Rev, somebody was sitting there going, I kind of miss the fact when I was young and just loved baby Jesus, just loved Jesus, And as a child, I used to sit I grew up Catholic, as many of you know, and sat in the church and just contemplated the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and that love just permeated that. And so there's times we miss that simplicity, that wonder, that innocence, that awe of that stage. It's so simple, it's easy to understand, and it evokes our love, whether it's for Santa or baby Jesus or Krishna or Buddha. I have a tradition every Christmas of watching the movie The Polar Express, and I did that on Christmas Eve, and at the end of it, it's just like, do you believe, And, it brought a tear to my eye, as it usually does every year, and there's this part of me that, says, yeah, I believe, but not quite that, And so as long as we just believe, everything is wonderful. But then the Grinch steps in. Doubts, facts, things don't quite add up. Our immature belief in Santa begins to crumble, and pretty soon, like the other kids, we not only don't believe in Santa, we're angry. We were lied to. We were betrayed. How could our parents do this to us? And what else are they lying about? And have they lied to us about? Our belief about Santa God may take a little longer. There's lots of support, social support for that belief, yes. Some people never outgrow it. And it's considered dangerous to question anything about it. Take it on faith. I remember that as a grade school kid in Catholic grade school. It's like you ask questions. It's like, just take it on faith. It's like, but it doesn't make any sense. I don't care. Take it on faith. But if you're like most people who come to this kind of spiritual community, you began to question. You began to doubt. Can anybody besides me relate? Yes? Probably all of us have our hands up. Some of the things you were being told about God, magical God, didn't match what you intuitively knew. Growing up Catholic, hearing that people who didn't, know Jesus and weren't baptized Catholic were going to spend the rest of eternity in hell. It's like, no. What about like people who live in Nepal or Tibet and have never heard of, it's like, doesn't matter. Off with their heads, And it's like, no. And it oftentimes doesn't even agree with what our scriptures, the sacred scriptures say, and suddenly you don't believe anymore. I went through a period, as I've shared before many times, about being an evangelical atheist. There is no God, and I'll preach that to everybody. Right? Perhaps you really, really don't believe and felt angry, felt lied to, felt betrayed, and wondered what else you were lied to about. Yes? Notice the similarities between Santa and God? When we wake from this magical fantasy dream, we tend to go 180 degrees into hard rationality. We question everything, and we don't ever want to be fooled again. I'm certain about it all. If I can't touch it, see it, feel it, measure it, it does not exist. Take a breath. Just like some people cling to their Santa God ideas for their whole lives, some people cling to their angry disbelief for their whole life, the whole rest of their life. And either one of those, we can get stuck in those identities. But if we continue to follow the flow of life, things change again. Something we have kids, and explaining a concept, well, Santa really kind of embodies the spirit of giving, doesn't work for a 3-year-old, right? Okay? And so we suddenly find ourselves becoming Santa, giving gifts, embodying the spirit of Santa, perhaps even embodying a little of the magical Santa by engaging in silly, immature rituals like wearing a Santa hat or having reindeer antlers and nose on your car, or other such ridiculous and not very adult behaviors, yes? None of you are like that, and I'm not at all like that, but there are people. You know somebody. But if we move beyond the outer appearances, we find our inner Santa, our true giving nature. We find that within us, which is to say, we find our hearts. Because the spirit of Santa is a spirit of love, a spirit of giving, a spirit of heart. We move past the angry, betrayed nature and recognize something deeper at play. In our spiritual life, something shifts. Perhaps it's a moment of wonder and awe in nature. Perhaps it's a mystical experience or a near-death experience. We suddenly become aware that there's a capital S something greater than we are. That maybe it's not all just hard, fixed, if I can't see it, feel it, put my hand on it, it doesn't exist. Maybe that there's something more than that. I was blessed and cursed when I was 13 years old to have an out-of-body mystical experience. I was washing dishes one night, and all of a sudden, kabam, I was immersed in what, as a nice little Catholic boy, I call the love of Jesus. I don't know how long it lasted, 1 minute, 5 minutes, whatever, but it was just bam, And so even when I went into my angry atheist, there was a part of me that sits there and goes, yeah, but there was something. There's something beyond that hard, rational, materialistic view of life. And it's not the Santa daddy in the sky God of our childhood, but there's a something greater, and we begin seeking to learn more about it, to experience it more. In magical religion, Christmas is about the birth of baby Jesus a long time ago, with all the made-up stories and legends about it. But as we live in this third stage, we recognize Christmas as symbolizing the birth of the Christ nature. And the Christ nature is really the God manifest in form nature that's present within and as each of us. Nudge your neighbor and say, you're the Christ right now. You're the Christ right now, yes. And this season becomes a reminder that we are the light of the world. You know, it's funny because Jesus is labeled as the light of the world. We put him up on a stage, on a pedestal, and say, oh, he was the light of the world. But in a couple of the Gospels, he sits there and looks at the people around him and go, you're the light of the world. You know, don't hide your light under a basket. You know, put it on a hill and let it shine. It's like, wait a minute, if he's the light of the world, why is he saying we're the light of the world? This is confusing. Unless, of course, you recognize that we're all the light of the world. And the light is here within us, and we're conduits for it. It becomes a reminder that this light is here no matter how humble and difficult our circumstances. No matter that there's no room at the inn of normalcy, the birth of the light through us is happening whether we're ready or not. Yes? Any of you who are have been mothers or are mothers know that the baby is coming when it's ready, not when you're ready. I'd like to schedule this for a perfect little time, and I have a little time in my week, and no, the baby says now, or the baby says not now. Okay? So the light is happening, the birth of this light is happening through us, whether we're ready or not. Whether the circumstances are ready or not, the baby is coming, and only the few who hear the call and understand what's really happening at this birth of life through and as us are there to celebrate with us, but that's enough. The people who know us and see us are enough. The people who know us and recognize the God, the light within us are enough. And to notice that we are God. Not the immature, power-hungry God that's acted out by cult leaders and such, but the infinite love and creativity of the universe, embodied in and as each one of us, each one of you. Nudge your neighbor and say, you are an embodiment of the infinite love and creativity and joy of the universe. Right now. And now, yes. It's embodied in and as us. We are the Christ child. We are the Christ child, giving birth to a deeper awareness of this truth. And finally, as we truly embody and stabilize this understanding, we realize that everybody looks like God, because we all are. Yeah, even that person you love to hate, even that person you don't like is still an embodiment of God. So this week I'm going to invite us to do two spiritual practices. Number one, as we move into the new calendar year, ask yourself, what is the special nature of the divine that is seeking birth through me at this time? What is the special, unique nature? Because see, we're all God, but we're all unique expressions of God. We're not all born to be brain surgeons, right? Thank God, yes. What is the unique, special nature of the divine that is seeking birth through me at this time? And here's the thing, as we move along in years, the things that were seeking to be born in me when I was in my 20s are not the same as that now that I'm in my 70s. They're different. And paying attention to that. What is seeking to be birthed through me now, at this time? What is that divine nature? What aspects of the Christ nature am I being called to live into at this time? In the story, in the Luke story in the gospel, when the angel told Mary that she would give birth, the first thing she does is ask the questions, wait a minute, how's that possible? Because the usual stuff hasn't happened. Yes? The usual circumstances haven't happened. And she gets this reply that says, nothing is impossible for God. Right? Open up. And she says, then let it be to me according to your word. And so I invite you, as you recognize what it is that wants to be birthed through you, even if you don't understand the circumstances, don't seem to fit to it and match to it, be willing to say, let it be done unto me according to this infinite higher process that wants to express it. I don't have to know how. I don't have to figure it all out ahead of time. All I have to do is say, yes. That's the first spiritual practice. And then the second spiritual practice is to ask yourself, is there room in my inn? Or is my inn so full of old guests, old feelings, Rooms whose guests left years ago, but I still keep them occupied with all my hurt, anger, grief, shame, guilt, blame, blah, 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 all that stuff. Is my rooms full of busyness? So we tell the light that wants to be birthed through us, go back out to the stable out there. So I invite you to make room in your heart, in your consciousness, in your beingness for this Christ child, the embodiment of life, the embodiment of love, the embodiment of light, the embodiment of the power of creativity, the embodiment of the peace, the deep peace, the embodiment of beauty, the embodiment of joy that wants to express through you. Will you make room for that? And so that's the two spiritual practices. What is it that's wanting to be birthed through me? Is there room in my in and making room in the in for that? Will you play with that this coming week? Yes. I invite you to. I want to close with a quote from Meister Eckhart, who was a 14th century Christian mystic, who said, "What good is it to me that Mary gave birth to the Son of God 1400 years ago, and I do not also give birth to the Son of God in my time and in my culture? We are all meant to be mothers of God. God is always needing to be born." We have an affirmation. Say this with me. I make room in my in and celebrate the birth of the Christ within me as me. Say this again. I make room in my in and celebrate the birth of the Christ within and as me. And so it is. Merry Christmas. Thank you.